Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Amsterdam Talk Season 4, Episode 30. I'm your host, Rod, and I forgot last week. I totally forgot, and I apologize for y'all. Last week was the 100th episode, and I totally forgot. Thank you, Leanne. I totally forgot last week to mention and have something big for the 30th. For the 100th episode, but I forgot. And now we're at episode 101. So tonight we bring you Leanne Linsky. How you doing, Miss Leanne?
I'm doing great. Congratulations on your 101 episodes now.
Thank you.
That's a big deal.
Yes, it's been 4 seasons, 30 episodes. Some had more, some had longer seasons. But we're happy to finally be at 101. So we're gonna treat tonight like it was 100 since we didn't celebrate. So before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So, all right, I was born. No, I won't start that far back. I'm originally from Illinois, north of Chicago in Waukegan, if anyone's familiar with Waukegan. And then I also lived in Vegas, New York, Long Beach, California, outside of LA, and now Seattle. So journey's been interesting because I always thought like I had some strange aspirations as a kid, big aspirations, but I went to college for business and ended up working for some Fortune 500 and other smaller businesses and stuff along the way and over the past few decades. But back in 2001, I took my first comedy writing class and I fell in love with comedy and I started taking improv classes, and I was living in Vegas at the time that I took the first class and fell in love with it. And then in 2006, so 5 years later, I packed 2 suitcases and moved to New York City to fully immerse myself into the comedy world. And I did that. I lived in New York for almost 9 years, and I ran an open mic for 7.5 years. I produced shows. I wrote my one-woman show. I did some commercial work. I did some theater work, did all the things, and eventually moved to the West Coast. And I was like, what is happening? I'm spending more time on the freeway than any stage.
Right.
And, it's not so easy to get around. And if you want to go a mile down the road to the grocery store, pack a lunch and plan on being on the road for a while. So I was like, how do I get more stage time in and solve this problem without busting the bank on gas and time? And I thought, what if I do some things online? And this is back in 2015. And, when people use Skype and Zoom was around, I was using Zoom for the day job that I had. Right. And then life got lifey. Fast forward to August of 2019. I'm like, you know what? I'm finally going to do that. I'm going to do things online so I can connect with my comedian friends in New York and also my new friends here in the LA area. And I did. And people were like, whoa, this is great. Because when they travel, they could like, hey, can I book a show there? Can I do this? And also they didn't have to leave home to work out new material. So then, of course, COVID happened. Everything went online, right? And during that time, I was like, how do I solve some of the other problems we have as performers? Like, how do we make money without having to have a zillion followers as a minimum requirement? Or how do we start doing those things? So I started thinking, I have some ideas. How do I put that all into a tech platform that could help people? Because although existing technologies were great, they weren't designed for online performance, as we found out. You don't want to go on and watch a show and feel like you're in with, Bob from accounting or something that feels weird. So I ended up, I went back to school during COVID and got a master's degree in innovation and entrepreneurship so I could learn all about the world of entrepreneurship and how to scale. And from there, I built a team and we built Plausible, and here we are. So it's an live online comedy platform.
Well, that killed the first question because I was going to ask you, how did you get here, through your journey? Like, what was your journey like? Yeah. But, so that was the first one. So we have a pause. So I guess I can say your journey began with writing classes and all of that, from Vegas to New York to back to the freeway of, I guess you on I-5 over in the freeway of LA. So we got here to plausible. So I guess, can we say your journey in, performing comedy to finally finding plausible?
Yeah, I mean, I took everything that I had done in the past, even working my other jobs really played a key role because I learned skill sets doing market research for a company, doing accounts payable and some bookkeeping for businesses. All of that I do now for my own business.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, solving my own problems as a comedian and where I live in the world
Mm-hmm.
really uh, made a difference in like, how do you get those opportunities? Oh, wait, not everybody lives in a major city. What about
Right.
everybody else? So yeah, so that's all of that led up to how I ended up creating a tech platform and I'm a non-technical person. So finding people to, uh, go on this journey with me, it took a long time to find people and I did. I found some great people that I work with. Yeah. So I just it's amazing because in life you always think, "Oh, I have a plan," and I don't know about you, but my plans never go as planned. Like if you had asked me 5 years ago where would I be, I didn't even know I'd be in Seattle. So, you know, here I am. But it all works out somehow, right? It's
Well, that's how life is. Life
yeah,
bounces you around, throw you curveballs. It's not about how you start, it's how you finish.
that's
And
right.
then also what you end up doing it. If they give you lemons, make lemonade. I mean, hey, whatever they choose to do. So you in this world now, it's comedy. So have you ever been booed off stage?
Booed off stage? No. I've what we call bombed,
Yeah, have you been
like where
bombed? Have you bombed?
yeah, where nobody like people aren't listening or maybe it's like crickets. Of course, yeah, I've stunk up a stage before, more than once. I know. I've had really difficult shows where
Mm.
like strange things happen, and I've had good ones. Yeah, yeah, but it's all part. Honestly, that's like part of it. I don't know of any comedian that could honestly say they haven't, you know, not been funny at times.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's
Yeah.
part of the game. But I was going to ask you, when you
Yeah.
bomb these shows, have you had others like, more veteran, seasoned comedians come to you and say, listen, this is what you need to do?
Yeah. Yeah, I have had people, tell me, give me advice or support, and comedians in general can be pretty supportive after because we've all been there, and, yeah, there's been some really nice people along the way of like, "Hey, that one joke, maybe have you thought about doing this or that?" Or, "I really like that joke," and stuff like that. So, yeah, after shows, I kind of feel like at especially if I go to a show and other, comics don't know me or haven't seen me or anything, I think
Mhm.
people are I find it funny because 'cause they're kinda standoffish at first, and
Right.
then after I do a set, then they're like, "Oh, okay, I can talk to you now."
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you got into this game. Now you're in the game and people know your name. So it's like, who are like any of your inspirations, or who do you reach out to now and like on a mentorship, or just say, hey, work this joke this way? Or maybe say, hey, I got this joke, I think it'll work for you.
Yeah, I think, right now I do most everything online on Plausible, so
Mhm.
we have a great growing community of comedians, and I
Mhm.
pop into a lot of the open mics and stuff to work on my jokes, and, I find that's a great help. Anytime I can get into a mic and run jokes, I can read it's great to be able to read the room and see if
Mhm.
you're getting laughs, especially from comics because comics don't always laugh at each other. We're kind of
Right.
like, "Oh, that's interesting. I wonder what it is that way." Um, so that's super helpful, and I also like supporting other comics. I love seeing other people grow and do well, and we have a lot of mics online, and I think it's happens more online than in my time of going to in-person mics of peer-to-peer feedback for some reason. I see it happen more online. So having that support and people go, "Hey, I thought of this. Do you want to use this?" In part of your joke, or maybe if you flip this word or that word. A lot of people that tend to do that a lot more.
Okay, so you have plausible is a whole circle of media with comedians. So
Yeah.
who any notables been through plausible?
Yeah, there's some pretty really good people. There's some really good people on Plausible. Um, right now, Bill Cott, who he was one of the original cast members of the Dana Carvey show. He
Mm-hmm.
did some voiceover on SNL for years. He was just on Jimmy Kimmel a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's teaching a comedy improv workshop on
Okay.
Plausible, which is pretty great. And then we have a number of people that have been booked, especially like on Grace Fraga's show. So Grace is
Mm-hmm.
a comedian of LA, and she hosts and produces a regular show, Love Gone Funny,
Mm-hmm.
once a month. And she always brings in some really great names as well. Um, so she's had some really good people. Like she's had Alex Hooper, she's had um, Dana Eagle on there. She's had uh, Rosalie. Like I don't know. I'm flipping through like everybody's
Right.
faces. Yeah, there's a number of really great people. And then Dana Friedman out of New York hosted a great show a couple months ago. She tried something new and she booked a bunch of really good comedians from all over the world. I think we had like 3 countries represented and
Mm-hmm.
everything, which was really great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the world of comedy right now, because different there's two different times now, and I look at it, me being from the comics I've seen growing up versus now, it's like two different worlds now. Your guy's job is to make people laugh, but it seems like everybody's gotten sensitive, certain things you can't say. Now how does that work? You're in a room full of comedians, and there's comedians that still want to do what they're supposed to do, but how do you handle that backlash when it's like, oh, that was too much, it was too over the top, when it's really not, it's just that you're sensitive.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because there are things. First of all, the whole point of doing comedy is get people to laugh. So writing a good joke, I think, is key, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also on topics, I think what I'm seeing is comedians are very aware of that society has changed and has become very aware of how we say things, and what we say
Mm-hmm.
has has taken a lot more weight and awareness, right? I
Right.
think people are much more aware of what they're saying and care. So I find that a lot of comedians, in fact, one of the comics on Plausible is running a mic or workshop called cancelables, like
Mm-hmm.
so that people who are like, hey, is this something I feel it's on the edge. How can I do this in a smart way? How can
Right.
I talk about this particular topic in a smart way? So it's not punching down, as people say, but punch up a joke so that it's not punching down at a specific group of people, but a topic that maybe can be talked about. And so they're starting hope writers groups and open mics specifically so that they can tackle those topics
Mm-hmm.
that could be sensitive to people, and how to bring levity to it, but in a smart way. So I think that a good comic would do that. Like, how do I play smarter instead of just taking low hanging fruit and just like, swinging blindly with these ideas? I think that's really the key of it. And I have a lot of respect, like, for people who really take into I call it the science of joke writing, where you're crafting art. Like, how do I make this art instead of just making it my opinion or a derogatory remark, you
Well,
know?
that's the thing. Art it is, because the simple fact, you guys are artists. You're painting a
Mhm.
canvas up there, because I mean, you're setting this up. When I say painting a canvas, you're setting this up for the punchline. So you're stroking the easel and everything, and then boom, the finishing touch
Yes.
is here. So it's like, how do you, like, I guess I want to say, like, you got to make sure people are listening to gravitate to be able to hear that punchline, because if you don't hit the your
Yeah.
favorite slogan, set them up and knock them down.
Right. Right. So that's really key. And that's what I call like the science of writing a joke. So like last night, I was talking to another comedian, and he was working out some jokes, and I was so he's like, yeah, share, go ahead and share some feedback. And so he had a lot of words in the joke, right?
Mhm.
It's like, so first of all, a joke should be clear. Like when we speak, especially on stage, if we get too wordy,
Mhm.
people dip out. Like there's just like, I'm thinking
Everybody
about
has
something else. I'm doing something else. So you got to craft it word wise. You got to think
everybody
through.
has ADHD these days. It's
It's
too
so
long.
true,
You
like
lose it.
limited time. And so I got to get very economical with my words. So it's got to be brief and to the point. And I got to have a joke, a joke, a joke. If I get into a long story, I lose people. So to your point, you got to come up with a setup. What is important in this joke? Get to the
Mhm.
point. If I have to say, hey, so last night I went, does it matter that it was last night? Does the word so matter? No, get rid of it. It's I walked into a bar and, right? That's
Right.
important. And then the next part of the joke, like get to the point. So getting to the point, what is it that's funny about that joke? Because uh the other thing is I have an idea, but then I go A to C. Okay, that's pretty predictable. But then if I take my audience on a left turn and show them a different perspective or something different, but also that smart, and they're like, oh, I didn't see that coming. That element of surprise is in a punchline,
Mhm.
right? Because if it's predictable, you're like, I already thought about that. And then you're like at the bar getting another drink refill, you know?
Right.
So I think even in these topics that can be provocative, I
Mhm.
think if someone's going to take on a provocative or sensitive topic, then you have to really think, what's the point, right? What do I want to
Mhm.
do with this? And where do I want to go with it? Do I want to show my audience a different perspective? Do I want to bring levity to something that's typically heavy or traumatic? And then in some cases, some people, they just want to like shock. I'm not a shock comic. Like I'm not there to like, she just said that. Like
Right.
that's bananas. And now everybody's going to talk about how controversial that was. Some people, maybe that's their objective. That's not mine. So I look at it as to like, what's my point with this? Can I shed a different point of view on it? Where am I going with it? So oftentimes I find talking from my own experiences, that is usually a way to go.
Mhm.
Um, and then kind of flip the perspective from someone else's on me, like self, what do we call it? Where we make fun of ourselves. I
Oh,
just lost the word.
oh yeah.
Uh, Self-deprecation.
Right.
So, a lot of that as well, like put myself in those shoes type of thing. So I think, a lot of people are shock comics, or now people are talking about like roast comics where they go out and they do these roasts and they basically just slam on people for an
Mhm.
hour. I also like, I understand and I can respect some people. They can make a living and do that and be very quick on their feet, and there is an audience for it.
Mhm.
It's not my style of comedy, but there are some people like that's what they strive to do. And there is an audience that follows them.
Got you.
Yeah.
Understandable. So, with plausible, like, what advantages do you see online comedy shows provide to comedians and audience that original traditional in-person audience may offer?
So what's the difference, or what do
Difference, like what
yeah.
advantages online has versus traditional in front of the crowd in a club.
Yeah. So the one thing is people often are like, well, you can't really replace in person. And I agree wholeheartedly. I think these are two
Hmm.
different animals. And I think there's a magic of in-person shows that I don't think online can replicate, to be truthful. And with plausible, my intention was never to replicate, but
Hmm.
to add to bridge a gap, to put something where when we don't have an in-person show, or we
Right.
don't have access to an in-person show. And that goes back to like, I had the opportunity to live in major cities like outside of Chicago, Las Vegas, New York, and LA, but not everybody does. And I think there's funny people all over, and not just in the US, but all over the world. And they don't have the luxury of being able to like go down the block and hop on an open mic at a cafe or a bar. So with Plausible, people can log in. So as long as you have an internet connected device, you can log in and you can work out jokes. You can have a live audience that can see and hear you. So it's not like video on demand, like a YouTube where you can, watch a video pre-recorded at any time. This is actually live, but unlike a live stream where people have to chat you
Mhm.
or emoji you, when you log into Plausible to a show, we can all see and hear each other. So you can see and hear the performer, they can see and hear you and all the other audience members at the same time. And when the sound is aggregate, so you can hear everybody laughing as though you were all in the same room, and it doesn't cut out the punchline and things like that. So when I created Plausible, I had some of those elements in mind that are so key to a live performance, is having that immediate response of either seeing and hearing people or both at the same time. And so I created Plausible so that a performer could have that, and also that the person watching can have that real time interaction as well. So, but they just get it from their device rather than in the room. So it's a little bit more freedom for everybody. And if you have an in-person show, one of the things is you're limited to the number of seats that the venue holds.
Mhm.
Online, it's almost unlimited because it's online, it's the internet. So many people can access it, right? Unless you specifically limit and say, I only want to sell X number of tickets. And the other thing is, as a comedian, we don't always get paid. And this is a big pain point for comics. If we're up and coming, we don't always get paid. We get, hey, you'll get stage time if you bring 5 people who pay and buy a ticket and 2 drink
Mhm.
minimum. Or we'll give you a free drink ticket. Or if you take enough classes at our comedy club, we'll give you some stage time and, as we get to know you, those kind of things. So headliners and features start getting paid, but maybe not so much everybody else. So with Plausible, we set it up so that when a comedian creates an account, it's a free account, and they get access to the scheduling calendar, the virtual stage, and ticketing services. They can determine if they want to do a free show or if they want to charge tickets, and the host comedian gets 60% of the tickets.
Mm.
So that doesn't, like, that kind of split typically doesn't happen unless you're a really well-known name and have a manager negotiating the door for you.
Right.
And you could have one person buy a ticket and boom, you're making money. You don't have to have 5,000 followers and ads and those kind of things in order to make a couple bucks. You just got to sell one ticket. And, Plausible has it so that your show is listed on our show listings on the website so that all the fans who are on Plausible see it. And there's a directory of all the comedians who have accounts on there. So fans can follow particular comedians. They can look in the show directory and see everything that's happening, and they can register for any one of those things. So instead of like having to collect all of these people as all the comedians come on and invite their fans, now there's this big pool of comedy fans are
Mhm.
like, hey, I came here for Rod, but look, I also like, this guy John, and I also liked it. So it's kind of like they all lift each other up.
I got you. I got 2
Yeah.
questions before we get out of here. First
Mhm.
question.
Yeah.
Will this make it on Plausible?
Will this make it on Plausible? You
Yes.
can come on Plausible and you can record your podcast live on Plausible and download it and distribute it like you normally do. You
Right.
could also, if you're hosting this live and you wanted a live audience and take questions and answers and stuff at the end of a segment and with a guest, you can have the audience in the room and do that and still be recording and then download and do it. You could have a VIP night and charge ticket prices for like your 100-second celebration. You could do all of that on Plausible.
Well, episode 102 might have to, because we have some actors from General Hospital coming on. So
What?
yeah, that might be something we might have to charge them. And for that one. And the last one, how do you see technology continuing to influence comedy and live entertainment in the future, since technology is playing a pivotal role in everything?
I think it's going to continue to play a role, and it's going to grow as technology evolves. I think it's almost inevitable, especially with the reach of social media and how many
Mhm.
people have already latched onto that. Like, that's kind of a staple. And I think it's just going to continue to grow. I don't think it'll ever replace the in-person element, but I definitely think it's going to add to the industry overall.
Mm. Well, thank you. And if those who are out there listening, you know what time of the show is the 25th hour. I mean, the 25th minute in the show. So this is where we go to I be damned. I be damned. Nobody gets hurt in these dating scenarios. It kind of comes out rather funny. So this is what happened this week. My 86-year-old physically fit, always horny sugar daddy promised me a Mercedes, but we are stuck in the loop. We go to dinner, back to my place. He spends the night, and the next day he takes me to a car dealership. We browsed a lot. The dealership runs his credit, and before he signs the contract, the salesman tells him about a better deal at a different location. My elderly lover slips him a tip, and we leave the dealership empty-handed. We went to 3 dealerships until the final one sent us right back to the first dealership. I asked to speak to the finance manager because I felt they didn't want to sell us a car. The manager said, "Miss, his credit is bad and he doesn't have the money. He tips us because we don't want to embarrass him in front of you. Also, you're the Wednesday girlfriend. He brings a different woman in here on Fridays. I'm tired. It's too much sex going on for me to still be in the Uber, but I'm leaving with something. Should I hang around until he dies? He's obese, has asthma, high blood pressure. He's also taking those get hard pills. I'd hate to leave than that Friday. I'd hate to leave than to have that Friday bitch get a car or money. I'd be damned." So I don't know how you can handle that, because if he doesn't have the money, you just have to just leave.
I'd also question, what kind of car?
They said it was a Mercedes. He promised
okay.
Mercedes. And, he's slipping. I mean, smart to not be embarrassed. He's tipping the salesman, just say, "Go here and go here." So, that's the I be damned this week. But if you're looking for Leanne, you can always jump on plausible.com. I think what's your Instagram page and all that as well?
Plausible. Instagram is plausible. Facebook is plausible. TikTok is plausible. It's plausible.
Hey, everything is plausible. Thank you for joining us on our 101 show last week. For the viewers that just came in, last week was show number 100. So we almost done with season 4, but as of right now, what's next? Oh, we have Andy Page, who plays Pearl on General Hospital, coming on. Next week is going to be a very special show on Tuesday. Again, next week, we're actually going to follow live coverage during the election next week. We're going to do a half-hour follow live coverage. And then on Wednesday, we have another Addicted to Porn group therapy session. So that's what's going on in the next 2 weeks. Again, guys, new time, 8 p.m. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but we've been doing so much, so now we moved to Tuesdays as well. So it's been Tuesday and Wednesdays. So thank you all for listening. Plausible.com for Miss Leanne. Check her out. Check all the lovely comedians out there on her website. Plausible. Get you a ticket. It could be a date night. You could sit in the house and just feel like you in the Intuit Dome out in LA and just listen to comedians all over the world. So thank you again for coming. I'll see you guys Tuesday. See you guys Tuesday. Thank you for coming. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this.